Let me be real with you today, because if you're thinking about becoming an online English tutor, or if you're already one, and you are wondering why weekends feel so different from the rest of the week, this video is for you. I have been doing this for years, and I want to walk you through something that took me a long time to figure out. Weekends in online English tutoring are a completely different experience compared to weekdays, and not always in a good way. The students are different, the energy is different, and honestly, the pressure is different too. So let me break it all down for you the way nobody else will, because most tutoring content online only shows you the good parts. I am going to show you the real picture. So let's start with the weekend student who only shows up once a week. You will meet this type a lot. They book one class every Saturday or Sunday, and because they only come once a week, they want to squeeze absolutely everything into that one session. And I get it, honestly I do. If you are paying for a lesson and you only have one a week, you want it to count. But the problem is the list of requests that comes with it. They want you to correct every single grammar mistake. They want their sentences to sound natural. They want you to type all corrections into the chat box in real time, while also holding a conversation, while also making the lesson feel relaxed and enjoyable. And on top of all that, they usually want a written lesson note sent after class. Now, think about this from the tutor side for a moment. You are being paid less than $1 for a 25-minute class in many cases. That is less than 4 cents per minute. And you are expected to type real-time corrections, maintain natural conversation flow, correct grammar, write lesson notes, and also make the student feel comfortable and entertained, all at the same time. That is not a language class. That is a performance with unpaid overtime attached to it. And here is the frustrating part. Even when you do your absolute best, these students, the ones with the long list of demands, are often the ones who leave you a low rating afterward. Not because you did a bad job, but because their expectations were so high that nothing could have fully met them in 25 minutes. It stings. But it is a pattern worth knowing about before you experience it yourself. Now, let me talk about another type I call the returner, with a grudge. This is the student who already gave you a low rating with a negative comment, and then, somehow, books your class again. And you're sitting there thinking, wait, you were unhappy last time, why are you back? There are a few possible reasons. Sometimes they genuinely forgot they already rated you badly. Sometimes they complain about every single tutor they meet, and they just cycle through the platform without much thought. And sometimes, honestly, they are hoping to get something out of it. Some platforms give students a free replacement class when a tutor cancels, so there are students who will book tutors they have already complained about, hoping for a cancellation, just to get a free class. It sounds unbelievable, but it happens. And when you see that a student has already left you a 1-star rating in the past, the smartest move is usually to cancel the class early, before it even begins. Yes, there is often a cancellation fee involved. Yes, it costs you something. But think about it this way. If you take that class and they rate you poorly again, you lose visibility on the platform. A low rating affects how often new students can find your profile. And for tutors who live in rural areas like I do, where power outages and internet problems are a regular part of life, protecting your visibility is not optional. It is survival. Then there is the type that I personally find the most draining, and that is the student who comes in not to learn but to test you. These are often people who work in education themselves, maybe English teachers or academics, and something about booking a conversation class makes them want to put the tutor in an uncomfortable spot. I have had students request a simple self-introduction topic and then completely ignore everything I say, not because they are distracted, but because they are already scanning the lesson material for something to challenge me on. They study the content in advance. They ask about very specific or technical things, sometimes things that have nothing to do with everyday English, like the exact terminology used in a transportation system they have never visited, or the grammatical structure of a sentence from an article I did not write. And when you cannot give them a perfect textbook answer on the spot, they treat it like proof that you are not qualified. But here is the truth. A conversation class is not a grammar exam. It is a space to practice speaking, listening, and thinking in another language. And someone who comes in with the sole purpose of catching you out is not really there to learn. They are there to feel superior. That is not a student. That is a person working through something else entirely, and your class just happened to be the place they chose to do it. Teenagers are another category entirely. I am not going to pretend that every teenager is difficult, because that is not true. But when a teenager books a weekend class, there is a good chance they did not choose to be there. Their parents signed them up, their school requires it, or someone decided that weekend English practice is necessary, and the student completely disagrees. So they show up with zero energy, zero interest, and sometimes zero patience. And if the class does not go the way they hoped, or honestly even if it goes fine, they might leave a low rating because they are frustrated with the situation in general, not necessarily with you. This is something nobody prepares you for when you start tutoring. You can do everything right and still receive negative feedback from a student who is unhappy before the class even started. That is a hard thing to accept, but it is real, and the sooner you understand it, the less personally you will take it. And then there is one more type I want to mention, and I want to be respectful about this because mental health is something I take seriously. But occasionally you'll have a student whose feedback or behavior during class does not match what actually happened. They may describe the lesson in their comment in a way that sounds like a completely different class from the one you taught. They may react to things you said in a way that feels out of proportion. They may seem distressed or confused in ways that go beyond just language difficulty. These situations are not your fault, and they're not something you can fix or fully prepare for. All you can do is stay calm, be professional, and cancel if things become too uncomfortable. Protecting your mental health as a tutor is just as important as protecting your rating. So with all of this said, why do tutors still open classes on weekends? Because weekends also bring some of the best students. The ones who are highly motivated, who book because they genuinely want to practice, who leave thoughtful positive comments, who add you to their favorites and come back week after week. One great weekend student can make up for 3 difficult ones. And if you are building your visibility on the platform, being available on weekends means more people can find you. More bookings, more favorites, more chances to meet the students who actually make this work feel worth it. The key is knowing how to protect yourself while staying open. Read the lesson requests carefully before class starts. If a student is asking for real-time chat corrections, lesson notes, grammar drilling, and natural conversation all in one 25-minute session, that is a warning sign. If a student has a history of low ratings on your profile, you have the right to cancel. If the first few minutes of a class feel wrong, you have the right to end it early. You are not a machine. You are a person doing a job, and doing it well means knowing when to step back just as much as it means knowing when to push through. I live in the countryside. My internet goes out sometimes, without warning. The power disappears during storms. I cannot always plan cancellations days in advance the way tutors in cities might be able to. So I have had to learn to make judgment calls in real time, and honestly, that has made me better at reading people quickly. If you are in a similar situation, know that you are not alone, and protecting your energy is not laziness. It is strategy. This job can be genuinely rewarding. I mean that. The conversations I have had with students from different countries, the connections, the moments where someone's confidence visibly grows during a single lesson, those things are real and they matter. But the difficult weekends are also real. And talking about them honestly is part of how we help each other survive in this industry. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, subscribe to help me hit my 2,000 video goal. This is my unfiltered diary of solo living in the Philippines, from the tough days in the ESL classroom to my journey learning Japanese and Korean. Yes, I'm still a beginner. If you'd like to support my work and my retirement fund, check out the Buy a Treat for My Pets link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next update. Thanks for being part of the journey. See you then.